Hello, I'm Mamrie Hart, here with 24 Seconds of Climate Reality. Did you know that as of November 2013, the sales of fully electric cars had risen nearly 300% over the previous year, while plug-in hybrid electric cars rose 31%? And those are only two electrifying ways that we can move away from depending on fossil fuels. And that's 24 seconds that can change the world.
What can change in a day? A solar array can power a community. A business can embrace clean technology. A nation can vote to reduce carbon pollution. Around the world, every day, people are taking action to fight climate change, enacting real solutions, and already seeing the benefits. Join us as we travel on a journey of progress around the world, exploring the path toward a better, cleaner future for all of us, and how you can help create it. What can change in a day? Our future. This is 24 Hours of Reality. 24 Reasons for Hope.
This is hour 5 of 24 Hours of Reality, and if you're in the mood to get electrified right now, the good news, you've come to the right place. This hour, we'll hear some encouraging words about the state of the electric vehicle industry. I'm so excited. I love cars. We are also so excited to be joined by electrifying musical artist and environmentalist Jason Mraz, one of my favorites, and no doubt yours too. Please keep sending your questions to us by tweeting @ClimateReality using the hashtag #ClimateQuestion. And as he's agreed to do every hour for all of our 24 hours, Al Gore himself is here to set the stage for this hour's theme and offer us all a new reason to have hope as we confront this cause of our lifetimes. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel so honored again introducing this man whose passion and expertise on climate reality continues to inspire so many of us. Al Gore.
Well, it's great to be back, and I'm particularly excited about this hour. For one thing, my favorite musician, Jason Mraz, is going to be joining us this hour. I love that guy. Anyway, okay, here we are for the 5th reason for hope. Just as solar technology and wind technology have both been declining in cost rapidly and increasing in the adoption of both technologies, just as affordable and efficient energy storage is getting better and better all the time and used more and more, just as the grids are getting smarter and stronger and more efficient, there's another breakthrough as well. You know, sometimes people say, well, with all the focus on the generation and use of electricity, what about the transportation sector? That's where a lot of the oil is used. Well, there's good news because electric vehicles, both hybrids and now increasingly the plug-in all-electric vehicles, are really taking off. For decades, we have relied heavily on the gasoline and diesel that internal combustion engines burn in order to move ourselves and our goods from point A to point B. Incredibly polluting, incredibly dirty, incredibly inefficient. But now, again, because the cost is coming down and the efficiency is going up, more and more people are buying electric cars. This trend has really started to take off just in the last few years. And the impact of this shift is going to be quite profound because in the next 20 years, the number of cars on the road of all kinds is expected to double globally to over 2 billion. A recent study estimated that cars and trucks together account for almost 1/4 of global warming pollution just from the fossil fuel combustion. So it's clear we need electric vehicles, and it's clear we can't continue to rely on dirty, dangerous fossil fuels. But here again is the good news, the 5th reason for hope. The electric vehicle market is booming. very exciting. This is a measure of the hybrid and electric vehicle sales and sales projections. And as you can see, it's the same kind of trend that we've seen with solar and wind and batteries and smart grids. It's really taking off. In fact, just this year, the global EV market is expected to grow 86%. That's incredible. There are very few businesses that have that kind of growth. And look at all of the companies that are now in the business of making electric vehicles. A lot of well-known brands, Cadillac and Fiat and BMW, you can look at the entire list, but brand new companies are springing up at the same time. This global competition is really heating up very, very dramatically. And again, the financial analysts are looking at the implications for the global economy. And here's that word again, disruption. The electric vehicle's path to eventual disruption may be upon us. You know, there are times in history when we move from one era to the next. When the Industrial Revolution came along, we had not only the tapping of coal's energy, but also the steam engine, also the railway tracks, also all these intricately designed new machines that did work that used to be performed by individuals. And it wasn't just one new development, it was a lot of new developments that all worked together at the same time, and a new era began. Well, we're at that point again. We're going from an old era to a brand new, more sustainable, cleaner, more efficient, more exciting era based on all these renewable technologies. And the electric vehicle is a big part of it. So just in the past year in the United States, the number of pure plug-in vehicles doubled between June of last year and June of this year. And if you look at the cumulative EV sales in the United States, it's quite a dramatic story. We heard Dan Esty talking in an earlier hour about how he's a big fan of the Chevy Volt. Well, it is probably the biggest seller in this market so far, but the Nissan Leaf, which incidentally is made in my home state of Tennessee, I'm real proud of that. It's right neck and neck with the Chevy Volt. And then the exciting Tesla Model S. My friend Elon Musk has really captured the world's attention. It's one of his three big businesses that are changing the world. And some automotive writers have opined that the Tesla Model S may be the best car ever made of any kind. I'm not an expert, but boy, it sure is cool looking, and the owners absolutely love it. And then, of course, the Toyota plug-in Prius. Toyota was in some ways first out of the box, if you don't count the ones 100 years ago. But in the modern age, the Toyota Prius became an iconic symbol, and now the plug-in Prius is doing a great job. And you're seeing all of these other brands with smaller sales gearing up to challenge for this incredibly large global market for electric cars. And again, you can see the projections. The sales thus far are impressive, but the projected future sales are far more impressive. And it's another example of how these sustainable technologies fit together. Renewable energy, affordable storage, the better grids, and now electric vehicles. And by the way, one often overlooked feature of electric vehicles is that they are also themselves storage systems. The average car is used for transportation about 15% of the time. So 85% of the time, they're parked somewhere, either in somebody's garage or in an office parking lot, and they are now beginning to be used as part of this interconnected smart electricity storage system. And homeowners in some areas are really benefiting already from that. In Europe, the same story is unfolding there. Almost an 80% increase in EV sales this year compared to last year. Again, how many industries have an 80% growth rate year over year? This is a very exciting development, interconnected with these other trends. And in developing and emerging markets, the same thing is true. The Indian government is aiming to have 7 million electric vehicles within the next 6 years on the road. And those projections may well be exceeded. China has made a commitment to electric vehicles, exempting them from all kinds of charges that internal combustion vehicle owners have to pay. So where you have policies that recognize the damage done by the internal combustion engine and the benefits that can come from hybrids and particularly from plug-in electric vehicles, when governments encourage this transition, it moves along much more rapidly. And that is a very exciting trend. I mentioned the Tesla Model S. I don't own one. I wish I did, but I don't have room in my garage. I've got another electric car there now. But this is really a fantastic vehicle. And Tesla has become the largest car maker in the largest U.S. state, California. And Elon Musk, who I mentioned earlier, is a real visionary. People have learned to respect his predictions about the future. And I want to dwell on this one for just a moment, because it is very similar to the solar and wind electricity story. You have the advantages of less pollution and less global warming consequences, but you also have cheaper operating costs. And when Elon Musk says this being the competition between electric vehicles and vehicles that run on gasoline, he said that competition is heading to a place of no contest with gasoline. Already in many jurisdictions, the cost of running an electric vehicle is equivalent to $1 per gallon gasoline. And in an earlier hour, we talked about how all these financial projections are showing the likelihood of energy price deflation in the years ahead. And as renewable electricity becomes more affordable and with storage and grids more accessible, electric vehicles expand, all of a sudden the cost goes down further. And since the wind and the sun is free, a point worth reiterating, the cost of operating an electric vehicle continues to go down. And what's been happening to the cost of gasoline, by the way? Everybody knows the answer to that question, and everybody knows what to expect in the years ahead with oil in the Persian Gulf and Venezuela and these places that are fraught with danger and warfare and all kinds of other problems. So the lower cost of operating electric vehicles, again, is going to be a very powerful element in shaping the marketplace and convincing more and more people that the smart thing to do is to get an electric vehicle. I mentioned the Nissan Leaf. They've got a really cool policy of offering purchasers of the vehicle 2 years of free high-speed charging in certain markets. I think that's a great promotion. The Prius plug-in by itself will displace 1.2 million tons of CO2 pollution. So it's all good. Now, I had the interesting experience a few years ago of dealing with the automobile industry, both the manufacturers as they grappled with the new mileage requirements. And by the way, kudos to President Obama. You hear about the rule on power plants. Don't forget the much higher mileage standards that are now in place. And the auto companies have been really doing a terrific job by and large in making the changes that allow us to achieve these higher mileage standards. But I also had the opportunity to deal with NASCAR. And I know the France family that founded the NASCAR organization, and if there is any sport that you would think is kind of viscerally inconsistent with trying to reduce global warming pollution, it might be NASCAR. But guess what? They asked me and others to meet with them and address the question, what could they do? I joked that it was mixing NASCAR and solving the climate crisis was a little bit like mixing sharks and tornadoes. But then I thought, hey, wait a minute, that was a hit movie. But in any case, they really have done some great things. And now, just last week, we have seen the introduction of the Formula E auto racing competition, the world's first fully electric racing series. And the very first Formula E race was held last week in Beijing. And by the way, the winner was a Brazilian driver, Signore Rossi. I want to congratulate, I'm forgetting his first name right now, but I want to congratulate him and Brazil for winning the world's very first Formula E race. So as the Tesla and other vehicles have already demonstrated, you don't have to think of electric vehicles as stodgy, pale substitutes for the kind of driving experience that was a kind of a romance in the second half of the 20th century with car buyers and drivers. It can be exciting, it can be thrilling, and the performance of these electric vehicles is fantastic. And a lot of people who have taken the time to do a test drive have found that out. So when you put it all together, the elements that we talked about in hours 1, 2, 3, and 4, with this latest reason for hope, the booming electric vehicle industry and the prospect of even cheaper renewable sources of electricity, making the driving of electric vehicles much, much cheaper and more enjoyable than driving the old, dirty, polluting internal combustion vehicles, you can see why this incredible revolution in transportation with the emergence of high-quality, affordable electric vehicles is yet another reason for hope.
Thank you, Al. Today we're learning that there's much to be hopeful about, and the undeniable fact is there's a lot of work to do. When all of us act together, we can make real change. Tens of thousands of people have already taken the pledge to dedicate a day of action in the year to come. Right now, we're calling on you to join them. While you're watching, right now, pledge a day of climate action, whether it's voting, marching, or speaking out in your community. What can change in a day? With millions standing up together, what can't? Go to 24hoursofreality.org to dedicate a day to climate action. Climate change is a big and complex issue, and some would have you believe it's too hard, too costly, too complex to solve. In fact, we know we can do this. Solutions exist. People are already seeing the benefits, and it's up to all of us to see this expansion of progress sweep the globe. That's why we're sharing the good news that we can do this.
Carbon dioxide has reached levels not seen in millions of years.
Climate change is here and getting worse.
Extreme weather has wrought havoc all over the world.
It's happening here and now.
We are running out of damage by the water.
So there's been a lot of news about climate change. A lot of bad news, that is. And for the good news?
Right.
Well, there hasn't really been any. Until recently. Today we're facing the hard truth of climate change with the stubborn relentlessness of human will. And good news is happening.
Right. And now for some good news.
Every day, new solutions are emerging. And not just wouldn't it be neat if solutions, real solutions. Our ability to convert sunshine into usable energy is rapidly becoming more advanced and accessible. Which is great because every hour the sun is sending enough raw energy to Earth to meet the entire world's energy demands for a full year. And the cost for clean energy technologies is dropping. Right now, the cost of solar energy is equal to or cheaper than fossil fuel energy in about 79 countries.
I didn't even know there were 79 countries.
And the electric car market is booming thanks to falling battery prices. And guess who likes that?
Who?
all types of people from around the world are starting to embrace renewable solutions. Schools are being powered by clean energy. Financial institutions are realizing dirty energy is a bad investment. And businesses are finding that going green is good for the bottom line. Which leads us to more good news. These solutions are actually working. It turns out that what is good for the environment is also good for the economy in many ways, like reducing poverty, spurring innovation and creating jobs. In 2013, nearly 6.5 million people were employed globally by the renewable energy industry.
Job creation. Brilliant.
Right. And while other industries are shrinking, renewables are growing as new technologies and capabilities are being rapidly discovered.
And here's some more great news.
This groundswell of support for renewable energy is forcing leaders and governments to take action. The two biggest carbon emitters, China and the US, have made moves to curb their carbon pollution and invest in cleaner energy technologies. And they're not alone. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is convening nations to forge a climate treaty that could unify the world to work together and lower our carbon emissions, transitioning us to a global clean energy society. We all know the bad news. Climate change is here. It's big, it's bad, and it's hurting us and our economies. But the important thing to know is that there is also good news. We have solutions here today, not dreams or wishes, real-world solutions that are ready to go and that are already saving money and improving lives.
Everyone's a winner.
If we rally around this good news and embrace solutions, we can forge the path to a clean energy future and make sure that progress is our new reality.
That's good news. Thank you for watching.
All of us are a crucial part to 24 Hours of Reality, and to prove it, we've been posing your questions to all our remarkable guests during our interactive town halls. And right now, I'm thrilled to moderate our town hall with a singer-songwriter and environmentalist who's become a powerful and meaningful voice in our world, Jason Mraz. Thank you so much for coming.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
So, can you tell me, when did you decide to put that beautiful voice of yours to good work?
Early on, you know, when I was a kid, I was performing. I loved seeing the reaction I would get out of my listeners, whether it was my family or my friends. And then as I went through my career and I noticed the audiences were getting larger, that whatever was going on in my life that I felt was having positive results, I found that those messages were becoming medicine in the music. So of course, as I start to fall in love with my environment and see the little things I can do to better it, that ends up kind of finding its way into the music as well. And I do my best not to tell people what to do, but live by example. You know, sing what I'm living, and you know, people drink down those melodies, those sweet melodies, and don't realize they're getting a pretty powerful elixir in there as well.
When, or do you even remember your aha moment? That moment when you said, oh wow, you know, all of us are connected, and I really need to start thinking about this more.
Well, I think I felt that when I was a little kid. I was very lucky to just feel like connected to something bigger. But when I became a homeowner about 10 years ago, I started to notice the trash that was going out on my curb. I was like, wow, okay, that's my waste, that's my trash.
And when you see it, you're kind of like, whoa, wait a second.
Exactly, like those are things I bought. I'm responsible for where that goes. I started to notice my energy consumption, notice my bills. And this is very true stuff. I don't want you guys to think that I'm talking about my electrical bills all of a sudden. But I also
But it's true, and something everybody deals with.
Exactly. So I'm a touring artist. I start to notice how much waste there is on a day-to-day basis, on a tour bus, in dressing rooms, on movie sets, etc. All this stuff. There's a lot of plastic water bottle waste. There's a lot of non-recycling. And so I thought, well, I'm gathering people together to my shows. Just like I can be responsible for my backyard, for my home, for the energy in my home, I can also be responsible for my energy at my shows. So it were these little steps in my life where I just knew I needed to be responsible for my own environment. And my environment's always changing because I travel a lot, so.
Well, I wanted to ask you, this is a great Twitter question that we got. and it is, do you believe that climate change should be a part of the educational system?
Definitely, definitely, because our educational system is designed to not only teach our kids how to learn our histories and learn our maths and sciences and make the best use of our minds and our talents, but also to be members of our community, you know, to be very conscious, contributing members of society. And so it's important to have up-to-date science and up-to-date policies in our classrooms so that kids can know how we're actually treating the world. Are we living in balance? Or are we out of balance? Or are we doing things that are making our societies worse?
Do you see that in some of your younger fans, that passion,
Oh, definitely.
that love for the environment?
Definitely. And I get letters from people all over the world that love putting little community groups together, making a difference in their own home, convincing their parents that it's time they start recycling, convincing their families that maybe we should look into this solar thing after all. It's very cool.
I have to admit, the gift of nag that a child can do to their parents
Absolutely.
is worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely.
Your kid comes home, Mom, we need to recycle. Dad,
Yeah.
we need to turn off the water when you brush your teeth. It really does make change.
Exactly. And I feel like I'm becoming that kid too, because I have parents that I'm inspiring as well. And I don't have kids yet, but I can already see the world that I want them to grow up in. And so I want to prepare my home and be ready to bring them up in a place that, you know, is sustainable.
So what are some of the things that you do and some of the things that you think other people can do at home to make their life greener and their bills cheaper?
Well, interesting, because green to me has only brought savings into my life. You know, I made the solar investment about 8 years ago, and I have a photovoltaic system that powers my home.
8 years ago?
8 years ago.
Wow.
So, you know, the costs were a little higher then,
Yep.
but California was giving incentives for people who went solar. It pays for itself within 5 to 6 years because you don't have an electricity bill. You're basically paying all your electricity bills up front, and then after that, you're just getting energy from the sun. And it's remarkable. So there's a huge savings there. You can obviously heat your water. You can do a lot of wonderful things with solar. Recycling programs are great, composting is great, planting an edible landscape is great. If you have any room to grow any types of food, whether it's a balcony or even a countertop in your kitchen, it's not only great for your health, but you can supplement your grocery bill with food that comes right from your yard. And if you don't have the time or the yard to grow, a lot of communities now have community-supported agriculture, CSA programs, where you can eat food from your zip code. And that's a ton of fun because you get a farmer's share. You pay $20 to your farmer a week, and he gives you whatever's growing on. You know, I call it, there grows the neighborhood, what's growing on.
I love that.
So yeah, that's just a few things you can do to offset your bills and, you know, participate with the resources that are readily available.
We started composting, and it took a little while for me to get a hang of it. It was too wet and it was too dry. But once I got the hang of it, it's so easy. And honestly, when I do take trash out to the curb, there really is hardly anything in there. I mean, there's so much food waste that we have in our homes.
Exactly.
It's almost kind of scary.
Exactly. So those who are wondering, what is composting? Composting is an opportunity to take all of our food scraps and our organic waste and basically turn it back into rich, nutritious soil. We can put it back into our gardens, into our yards. We can put it around trees and basically refeed the soil. And over the last few decades, we've accidentally mined a lot of carbon out of our soil through industrial farming, through chemical fertilizers. You know, if anyone out there is spraying Roundup weed killer in their yards, please stop, because it's horrible for your health. It's cancer-causing agents. And it destroys the soil. And there's so many amazing microorganisms that live right in our soil that thrive on carbon, that need the carbon to come back out of the atmosphere, back into the soil, and can greatly reduce how much carbon is in the atmosphere. And then that soil is going to produce amazing quality of trees, amazing foods, because like I said, we can plant food in our yard, a variety that grows year after year. You can look into edible landscaping. That's an amazing and fun project. Plant some fruit trees. They give you fruit for decades with very little effort. So.
And it's also something really fun to do with your kids. My niece and nephew, they tended to be picky eaters, and my sister did a little edible garden in their yard, and for the first time, they watched a zucchini grow. They knew they didn't like zucchini, but they wanted to eat that zucchini because they grew it, and so it was a great way to actually get them to eat their vegetables too.
Yeah.
And a good project.
And a great project, a lot of fun.
What else? You know, when you're on tour, I can't imagine, you know, you're always roaming. There's a lot of things that are disposable that you need. So what are some of the things that are really important to you when you're on the road?
Well, I always bring my own water bottle for cold water and hot water, because everybody likes a cup of coffee, and I drink tea 10 times a day. So I've had a hot mug that I've carried with me for the last 8 years. And I have a water bottle that I refill. I drink New York City tap water. You know, I'm not afraid of my water. Plus, I feel the more demand there is for our public water, the better chances we are of constantly testing that water. I don't know who's testing plastic water bottles. You know, it's like that company who's bottling it is testing it themselves, telling me it's okay. Plus, when sunlight hits those BPA water bottles, you know, I know there's chemical agents getting into that. So I prefer carrying my own water bottles, hot and cold. I bring my own tote bags, so when I'm out in the world buying souvenirs or grocery shopping, I'm not taking plastic bags. And those are very, very small steps, but they save me tons of money a year because I'm not purchasing extra things.
Have other artists asked you about this? Do they see your example and say, oh, wow, we can do that?
No, but that's only because I live in my own little bubble, and I think artists do. But I learned it because I asked a group called Reverb, and Reverb is out there to help artists and bands green their tours. And so they'll link you up with biofuel in all your cities. So we have biofuel trucks that come out to our buses and fill us up before long drives, because we can't rely on biofuel stations on the highway. So Reverb helps us link up to those. They help bring in water refilling stations for our fans, so we don't have to purchase plastic water bottles at concession stands. We can refill our own water bottles, etc.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so there are, and I want to shout out to the band Guster, because they actually founded Reverb, and they've helped a lot of bands like myself and Maroon 5 and Jack Johnson and Dave Matthews Band green our tours and really make it a better experience for our fans.
That's so great. Honestly, I love that. Okay, I have another question from a fan.
Yep.
Love Back to Earth.
Okay.
What are your favorite songs ever written about the environment? That's a tough one.
First one I can remember is "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor." Second verse, "It's a beautiful day in this beauty wood, oh, a neighborly day in this beauty wood." And that to me was this song about your neighborhood. I mean, that's your environment. You want it to be clean. You want it to be available for you to be outside, playing outdoors. I remember also Louis Armstrong, "What a Wonderful World." I see trees of green, I see red roses too. Any song that says, you know, another song, "Blue skies, nothing but blue skies." Any song that acknowledges the existence of our blue sky, or of the world outside of ourselves, to me is a song that requires the inspiration of the environment in order for that song to have been written. You know, so like Mr. Rogers is probably the very first song I can remember. It's still one of my favorites. Yeah. Do
you write songs and lyrics better outside than you do inside?
I'm going to say I have more fun writing outside. I have written a lot outside because I did stumble onto my own little avocado orchard. I've built a studio right in the middle of the trees, and I spend a lot of time outdoors or leave the doors open.
Wait, I'm sorry, you built your studio
I did.
in the middle of your avocado farm?
I sure did. And in fact, at the beginning of Back to the Earth, you hear the roosters and chickens, and those are our little backyard chickens that help compost our kitchen scraps and give us eggs. And I've written a lot of songs. In fact, there's a few songs on my new album, that have, you hear the bird chirp, so you hear the sound of the rain, and the environment has had a huge effect on our sound. I even had an experience where I would go and sit on my porch writing each day, and every day at the same time, a hummingbird would come and sit on the tree and sing and listen for 20, 30 minutes at a time. And it was pretty remarkable, pretty remarkable.
You had a song friend.
I had a song friend, and that would be a gauge for me to know if I was on the right path with my melody, you know, if I was really tapping into something that was in harmony with nature. If this little bird could come over and be a part of that experience, then I figured it was special.
I feel like that is going to be the cover of your next album, is going to be that little hummingbird.
It should be. It should be. Yeah.
Just so you know.
I should give him some respect. Yeah, I should give him some honor.
You know, as an artist, who are some of your heroes?
Al Gore.
Yeah.
You know, you know, he's a public speaker. He came from the political world, but an unlikely person to inspire an artist. But when I saw his film and when I see him speak, there's an arc to his storytelling. There's an arc to his message giving that is the same as someone who's singing a torch ballad. They're going to have highs and lows. There's a real passion there, and there's an unwavering passion. After decades of resistance, of people denying climate change, for him to still stand up and be passionate. So he's actually been a huge inspiration for me. I've also gotten involved in Farm Aid over the last few years. And so to see the founding fathers of Farm Aid, like Willie Nelson, Neil Young, John Mellencamp, Dave Matthews, and all the other artists that participate, Wilco, year after year, I wanted to join that family and speak up for the family farmers who have been edged out by industrial farming. I wanted to speak up for the organic farmers who can actually help, you know, reverse the climate crisis. And so those guys were playing music all my life or throughout my high school years. And I said, you know, I want to be not only a great musician, but a musician that has a voice and that makes a difference for others.
So sitting in your avocado orchard, it would be an avocado orchard, not an avocado field, correct?
It's a grove. You
okay,
could call
a grove.
It a grove.
Your avocado
Yeah.
grove. In your studio, doors open, your chickens, your birds. What's that sense of feeling you get sitting there? You know, what emotion washes over you?
Awe. It's a lot of awe. Awe because I can't believe it's my own life. And when I moved in there, it wasn't an organic avocado grove. There were old practices going on. The trees were a little sick, I would say. And there were only avocado trees. There were no weeds or anything. So I'm in awe now because having transitioned to organic, which is basically just a commitment to no chemicals.
Yeah. Yep.
There is more wildlife, more bird song, more wildflowers, more fruit trees and edibles all over the place. We have olive trees, we have mango trees, we have lemon trees, we have lime trees, passion fruit, pomegranate, berries. So I sit there and I'm surrounded by all this green, which was the act of each season just planting one more thing. Very simply, just plant one more thing and watch it grow. And having had the patience to let it grow, and now being somewhat overwhelmed by how much fruit and food that I get every season, I sit there in awe. And I'm really grateful for the former me that decided I'm going to plant this, I'm going to do this. And it's overwhelming at first when you think, wow, it's going to take me how long before I'm certified organic, and how long is it going to take for this fruit tree to give me fruit? But time goes by, and I'm so grateful that I just put a little bit of effort in to plant that tree. And now when I'm sitting outside playing next to that tree and it's dumping guavas, that I have to put the guitar down and collect this fruit and make sure we're eating it, I'm in awe. I'm in awe of what the earth will give you if you give to it. And I read a quote today too, that there's a psychological benefit that occurs for someone who gives. when you give to someone else or when you give to your environment, there's actually something that occurs in you that makes you feel better, that makes you healthier, that makes you more connected to love, maybe more connected to spirit. And obviously when you connect yourself to the environment, you get back also this amazing reward of cleaner air and cleaner food and happier animals. It's pretty awesome.
I can tell that you feel happier, you feel more at peace.
I do.
Do you feel healthier?
Very, very healthy. I grew up eating fast food. I grew up eating processed foods, fast foods. I didn't question where my food came from. That just wasn't in our
Me too.
culture.
Me too.
And so as a singer and someone who started surfing and being more interested in things that California had to offer, because I'm not originally from California, I kind of fell into it thanks to music. I found that when I ate foods that came from my local environment, and when I ate whole foods, nothing that came through a factory or through a process, that my instrument was performing better. I was having less sick days. I was, my ear, nose, and throat was a lot healthier. I could sing better. My breath support was getting better. I could sing longer. I could surf longer sessions. So all these things, I noticed a huge transformation in my life, thanks to eating mostly vegetarian diet, looking at whole foods. Not the grocery store, but whole foods,
Right.
meaning like an avocado.
The
It's
actual food in the form of the way it is
Yeah,
grown.
my body knows what to do with this food. It isn't made up of 9 different ingredients that my body has to say, okay, hang on a second.
Yep.
Let me store this here while I digest this and figure out what this is. You know, my body can just really use it as fuel. And so I am a lot healthier because of it.
My last question is, what's the biggest thing you do to reduce your carbon footprint? Because we know carbon is a huge problem.
Yeah.
So what is your number one thing that you think you do?
Number one thing, well, I started with the solar home.
Which is huge.
Which is huge. So I did a carbon test online, and I looked at all the areas how my life is lived, and like at home, I'm well above the curve. I'm super carbon negative, you know. But my touring and the energy that I consume touring makes my carbon footprint probably worse than anybody's in this room, because I fly 80 times a year. I bus travel, you know, there's a lot of travel going on. And so what I do is I keep track of my flights, and I have my own little system. I say, okay, for every domestic flight, I'm going to plant a tree. For every international flight, I'm going to plant 5 trees, times the amount of people that I'm traveling with. So if I do a tour of Southeast Asia and I'm traveling from country to country to country, just over a period of like 2 weeks, I've already gotten up to like 800 trees. Like, it's a very quick number because there's 20 of us on the flight. So I have days where I go out on tour where we interact with community gardens. We get people excited. We plant trees. We get people excited about organic regenerative farming. And then at the end of the year, say I've only planted 60 trees, I'll look to organizations who have massive tree planting efforts, and I make my donations according to my flights to offset my flights. So every year I'm planting thousands of trees.
That's great.
To offset my flights.
That's really great.
That's
flying
my little
is a
thing
hard thing to figure out. So
it's
I like that.
It's a hard thing to figure out, yeah, but it's what I can do. And it's actually easy to do. There's a lot of great, every city has tree planting initiatives, and there's a lot of great organizations out there. The National Forestry Program or Reforestry Program, I think it's the National Forestry Service.
Right.
Works in a lot of our national parks to replant trees. So you can do it in your own home state,
So great.
or if there's a state that you love or a country that you love. Africa has a massive tree planting program. You can give your $1 to a little sapling.
And it helps support local people in those communities too.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Jason, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And my husband and I are going to come over for some guacamole. We'll help you eat those avocados.
Please do.
All right, this is not just your average event. You can tell by the fact that our very well-known green man on the street is leaving such a big footprint in town. Thankfully, not a big carbon footprint. Let's check in with him again. Ian Somerhalder.
Hey everyone, it's Ian Somerhalder, your green man on the street. I am in New York City where the United Nations is about to go into General Assembly, where this year there will be a massive focus on the issue of climate change. So I'm here to take a bite out of the green apple, to generally assemble and talk to people about a subject that always renews me, hope. Do you know anything about climate change?
Yeah, we've done it in geography at school.
You have? You know what it is, right, Mom?
Of course I do.
Have you guys experienced any of it in the UK?
Yes, a lot more flooding
lot more
in the
flooding.
UK. A lot more, it's getting warmer, but it's
the
also
winters are
getting
cold.
wetter.
And the
And the
winters
winters
are
are getting
getting
colder. Yeah, yeah.
What's the consensus in the UK? Like, I mean, is there things that you guys are doing, driving cleaner cars, anything that...
They have, they're starting to have electric cars. There are a lot more here, but they're starting them in England. And I think we're trying to look after it a bit more, look after the world a bit more.
Do you know anything about solar energy?
They have solar panels on houses.
Yeah, do you know what actually works even in cloud cover like this?
No, I didn't know.
How do people get around in the UK?
Mainly cars.
Yeah?
But to be fair, we're going more walking and more biking, particularly in the cities, aren't we?
Yeah.
And since we've been in New York, we've only used the bike or walked.
Nice. Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Feels really good.
Makes you feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Are you guys pretty stoked on trying to figure out how to save your planet so you can live, be happier, be healthier?
Yeah. What we do, we try to eat food that's not shipped for miles. So we try to eat local fruit and veg, don't we?
Yeah, it's
and
better
meat.
that way.
Yeah.
If you eat local stuff, then they don't have to use all the fuel to ship all those foods, right?
Yeah.
You have a cool mom. Hey, how are you? Hey, do you have a minute for Planet Earth? Hi. What's going on? What's your name?
From the Vampire Diaries.
I am, sometimes, during the week.
My name's Caitlin.
Caitlin, what do you do?
I'm a teacher.
You're a teacher?
Yep.
What ages?
First grade.
Early development?
Yep.
Critical thinking?
Yes.
What is climate change to you?
Climate change, global warming, things that are going wrong. Usually it's connected with a negative.
Right, but we got to make it a positive.
Yeah, we do.
So we have to do that. So what can you do?
What can I do?
You have classrooms of first graders. You can do a
Yeah,
lot.
I'm gonna, help the kids learn how to take care of the environment.
Thank you. Laura, so you're from the UK, right?
I am, yes.
And I got your name wrong like 5 times. I went to Nora, Dora, Bora. Okay, so do you know that enough solar energy reaches the Earth every hour to meet the needs of the entire population for a full year?
I didn't actually, not until today.
Crazy, right?
It is
and
crazy.
and I'm sure in the UK you guys have a lot of this, right? Cloud cover.
Yeah.
But you could still get solar energy through cloud cover.
Oh yeah, it's the rays come through the clouds, don't they, anyway,
Right.
so.
Would you put solar on your house?
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah?
yeah.
Do you know
Anything to
people
help
that
the
do?
environment.
Huh?
Anything to help the environment.
Okay, cool. And you'll tell other people that, right?
Yeah,
You'll share that
definitely.
information?
Definitely.
Promise?
Yeah, I
Pinky
promise.
swear.
I swear. Pinky swear.
Boom. You rock. So you're 14,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And your sister or mom?
Mom.
Okay. So listen, climate change. You know a little bit about it, right?
Oh, yeah?
You know what's happening.
Yeah.
Right? So what are you doing about it?
I was in the climate club at my school.
Was or are?
Well, I left my school, so.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So.
What did the climate club do?
We worked on educating the rest of the school about about climate change because it went from preschool through 8th grade. So a lot of the younger kids didn't know about climate change and that kind of thing. So we taught them about climate change, and we made dots, so do one thing. So everybody wrote down one resolution they had to help the climate.
And then it was also action based, right? It made people.
Yeah.
You helped them understand to go out and just do something. It wasn't just about awareness.
Yes.
Wouldn't you hope that more kids had access to that kind of education?
Yeah, I would. I think that educating people about climate awareness is one of the first steps you can take.
Can you please be active in that and like really spread that throughout the country?
Sure.
Help me out.
Okay.
Because I don't sleep very much at night and I'm really busy doing this stuff. Can you help me?
Yeah, we'll do.
You guys rock, man. Every movement has its moment. This is ours. So I'm dedicating a day to do my part. I'm dedicating a day to make a difference. So come join me. Go to 24hoursofreality.org and help me spread the word by hashtagging the word climate hope.
BP had two big goals: help the Gulf recover and learn from what happened so we could be a better, safer energy company.
Using algae to form biofuels, we're not competing with the food supply.
At Chevron, if we can't do it right, we won't do it at all.
If you were to watch TV these days, you'd think big oil companies are starting to clean up their act by focusing on clean energy. In 2012, 94% of carbon emissions in the US came from burning fossil fuels. According to the EPA, 1 barrel of carbon-based crude oil will produce an average of 0.43 metric tons of CO2 emissions when burned. That's almost half of a typical 2-story house.
You turn on the TV and you see an ad and you see, oh, everything's great and everything is so wonderful. And when you spend hundreds of millions of dollars on that advertising campaign, of course people believe it.
What do they want us to see? And what is the reality? And why would they want us to think something different than what's really going on? In this episode of Youth Fuel, we travel to Texas and Louisiana to investigate big oil and their green marketing. I'm Vanessa Black. I'm a filmmaker and an activist, and I'm traveling around America to find out more about our biggest polluters and climate change deniers. We know the oil industry is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. However, if you look at their advertising, they spend a lot of energy trying to convince us to think otherwise.
At Shell, we are developing more efficient fuels that can help us to get the most from our energy resources.
The place where I want to be.
What do you think of the company BP?
BP? From what I've heard about it, that they're a clean, like, save the earth type of company when it comes to chemicals and gas and all that stuff.
But the reality is, Chevron, Shell, ExxonMobil, and BP are oil companies that pump carbon pollution into the atmosphere and endanger life on our planet, and make billions of dollars in profit while doing so. So why is it that people think these companies are environmentally friendly? It's called greenwashing. Disinformation to present an eco-friendly, responsible public image. Many of us remember the Exxon Valdez spill in Alaska, but more recently, we remember the BP oil spill in 2010.
This is the biggest man-made disaster that directly affects one of the most productive estuaries in the world.
It doesn't seem like 25 years after the Exxon Valdez disaster that we've gotten any better ways to clean up oil when it's spilling. You know, we're drilling deeper and deeper, but when it comes to dealing with a catastrophe like this, we haven't improved the technologies.
Deepwater Horizon was the largest accidental marine oil spill in petroleum industry's history, and more than 200 million gallons of crude oil is estimated to have been pumped into the Gulf over the course of 87 days. A federal court ruling in September of this year found BP was grossly negligent, and they could face additional billions in fines. We sat down with the locals to see how it's costing them.
I mean, we're still seeing instances where oil is washing ashore. There's still tar balls out there. You know, so this situation, this dilemma that we're in, it isn't long and gone, it's still happening.
BP released this statement on their website. Field notes from 2010, 2011, and 2012 do not document any visibly oiled oyster beds.
Water quality is okay. In reference to the health of the production and the small oysters, that's not there. So if BP's trying to claim that everything's fine, it's bullshit.
They got enough money to spend, they can paint their own picture the way that they want to. You know, so as far as being friendly to the environment, I mean, we're part of the environment and they certainly haven't been friendly to us.
Dirty stories like this are radically different than the rosy depictions we see in their advertisements.
Outside of the Gulf, a lot of people think that BP is an environmentally friendly company.
That's news to me. First off, I didn't even know that.
BP needs to put their money where their mouth is and actually put that money towards restoring the Gulf instead of, you know, spending millions and, you know, maybe even tens, hundreds of millions on PR efforts.
Even knowing all the facts about pollution, top oil companies seem to be spending more money on commercials about renewables rather than following through with the ads that they are saying. In 2010, Chevron launched their We Agree campaign, describing Chevron's leadership in development of renewable energy. However, the company is now dialing down the program's funds and have encouraged staffers to look for jobs elsewhere. Shell ran a feel-good ad called Let's Go, implying their investments in green technology. But the fact is they're devastating the planet by oil drilling and refining. We called BP to set up an interview.
I've done a lot of research
on your sustainability, and I would love to just set up a call. But they declined to be on camera. After some email correspondence, they wouldn't answer all of our questions, including the ones we wanted answered the most.
If we're going to continue to, push the boundaries when it comes to drilling, then we also need to invest in safety and invest in research to make sure that these things can be done without destroying the environment, without, impacting our communities.
We're a 138-year-old business, a fifth-generation family operation, and I want my son to be able to do it.
We won't be fooled by oil's green ads, and we won't be tricked into believing that if we can't see it, it's not there. Just like the Gulf might look like it's back to normal, there are in fact environmental impacts happening daily that you do not see. When it comes to climate change, harmful pollution isn't always visible. Understanding these impacts is the first step for a cleaner future. Join the growing movement to solve the climate crisis and fuel a cleaner future.
There's so much more to come on 24 Hours of Reality, including a one-on-one talk with Jason Mraz, the World Bank's Dr. Jim Kim, Bradley Whitford, Reed Hunt, Counselor to the President John Podesta, and Lieutenant General Russell Honore. We'll also have a town hall with former Vice President and Climate Reality Project founder Al Gore, more from our green man on the street, Ian Somerhalder, and more field reports for you to see. You can see all of the highlights from 24 Hours of Reality starting later tonight at 24hoursofreality.org. Now, even a child can understand that there is a lot to lose when it comes to climate change. In fact, it's possible the young people of the world are the ones best positioned to ask some tough questions on the issue. After all, they're the ones with the most at stake. As the United Nations prepares to convene a special meeting of the world's leaders to collaborate on negotiating a new agreement that can ensure a clean energy future, the Climate Reality Project thought it would be a perfect time to invite the young people of the world to ask their nation's leaders the climate questions on their mind. What's amazing is how simple this complex issue can be when you see it through a child's eyes. And after viewing this montage of impressive youth from around the world, we'll see a single submission from a future climate leader from the United States. Take a look.
My name's Amy Farrett and I live in England.
Hi, I'm Aiden and I'm from Hong Kong.
Hi, my name's Molly and I live in Malaysia.
Hi, I am Mika from South Africa.
I live in Croatia.
I live in Auckland, New Zealand. And I'm from Brazil.
Brazil.
From South Africa.
From France. From the United States.
United States. From Mongolia.
From Malaysia.
From Dubai.
From Romania.
From Mexico City.
From the Philippines. From India.
From India.
Western Australia.
So my question for all world leaders is this.
And my question to the government bodies is...
My question to the UN is...
And I guess the first thing I want to say... The first question I want to ask...
My question is...
My question.
My question. My question.
My question.
I'd like to question...
I would like to ask...
I'm asking members of the UN...
Why do you sit here and pretend?
Why are we letting companies freely pollute the atmosphere?
Why are you allowing the palm oil industry to destroy Malaysian rainforests?
Why do global economic policies consistently stimulate and encourage reliance on burning fossil fuels?
Why is there no more emphasis on developing a generation who can take responsibility for the causes of climate change?
Why, in South Africa, a country overflowing with sunlight, don't we use solar panels?
Why not countries with similar consumption formulate region-specific laws and targets for the next decade?
Why not to put pressure on these companies to change their methods?
Why don't governments start creating sustainable modes of transport?
Para preservar o bem mais precioso que existe no planeta.
Why not change their focus, leave animosity and hatred and competition behind?
Why not incentivize people to use energy more efficiently?
Why not invest more resources in communities?
Why not strive to reduce carbon emissions?
Everyone has a stake in what happens to our planet.
The global problem requires a global solution.
It's time to act. So what are you waiting for?
My name is Maya Nadiang and I live in California, USA. We're currently experiencing a record-breaking drought right now, and global warming isn't helping to alleviate our problem. So I'm asking members of the UN, why do we continue to emit harmful greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide by burning coal and other fossil fuels, which ultimately results in rising global temperatures? Why not strive to reduce carbon emissions by improving the insulation of buildings and educating people about the benefits of energy conservation and really encouraging fuel-efficient vehicles and reducing electricity and petroleum use? Why not produce more energy for renewable sources and use fuels with lower carbon content? Why not take into consideration carbon capture and sequestration as a solution to reducing emissions from coal and gas-fired plants and industrial processes? All I ask is that we not wait until the last minute to take action.
For 5 hours now, we've been exploring the many climate change solutions that exist here and now. And we've seen that the electric vehicle technology, its time is here, it has arrived. In Hour 6, we'll shift gears and hear more about how public transportation is part of the solution. Jason Mraz will be back for a one-on-one conversation. And in Hour 7, we'll be taking your questions for our town hall with Al Gore. So please keep sending them to @ClimateReality using the hashtag #ClimateQuestion. Thank you all for all you're doing and all you will do in the future. But don't forget to do your part. You can make a world of difference. Go to 24hoursofreality.org to dedicate a day to climate action. We'll see you in Hour 6.